Hello Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to chat with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. All right then, you lot. Well, I've heard on the grapevine that one man and his dog went to laugh at Chelsea. But you lot didn't want to know that. What you want to know is, who is the guest on this week's episode? Well, why don't we all find out? But before we do, go grab yourselves a cuppa, whether it be tea or coffee, whatever tickles your fancy. Sit yourselves down, put your feet up, make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of the collection in a musical montage. Alrighty then, so we are once again treated to another fantastic collection, all predominantly Star Wars, but that's okay because I'm a big Star Wars fan. But some of the pieces, absolutely tremendous. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the channel once again, young Jack, also known as JediMaster98. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hello there. How everyone? Thank you very much, mate, for allowing me to be on here. I'm doing all right, yourself and everyone, and thrilled to be here, mate. So thank you very much for having me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And like we say, like we said before, we met at MCM last October, wasn't it? So we've not known each other long, but I feel getting to know you a little bit better through the conversations we've had. You did What Made Star Wars Great. Then you was on the charity live stream the other weekend, and now you're on here. So we're going to find out a little bit more about you, which is great because then other people get to know about you as well, which is always a good thing. So yeah. But no, it's a pleasure to have you on the channel again, mate. Absolutely.
Lovely. Thank you very much for giving me the
Not a
time. Do
problem. Not a
appreciate
problem.
it. Thank
Oh,
you.
anytime, anytime. So I've got 10 questions for you, all about you and your collection. Run time roughly about an hour. If we go over, not an issue. But if you're ready, we'll crack on with the first question.
Yeah, by all means, mate,
Yeah.
fire away.
Cool beans, cool beans. What toy lines were you into as a kid, and what memories do you have of those toy lines?
So in terms of toy lines as a kid, mate, I was into many of them. Obviously, the Revenge of the Sith line that was released in 2005. That was a popular line for myself in terms of collecting figures there. The likes of the Legacy collection, the 30th anniversary collection, and more or less the Saga Legends line as such from the
Yeah,
Episode 3 era, obviously original and obviously the prequel trilogy. They were sort of like the fan favourites as such. But I think if I could pick one or a couple, it'd have to be a split between either the 30th anniversary collection or the Revenge of the Sith collection wave of figures that they released in '05 in terms of the um, different characters that
yeah,
were very small limited screen time, or someone we go, wow, I didn't expect that to be released, but it's just the sheer volume of figures being released from different aspects of Star Wars, which I loved,
yeah,
and sort of a little bit of a miss as such in today's collecting. But back then it was an absolute thrill. I mean, Revenge of the Sith, I think I remember alluding to you ages ago, is my favourite of the prequel trilogy, and
yeah,
that line especially just blew me away. There was sort of like a few nitpicks here and there, maybe like say figures from the Phantom Menace line or the Attack of the Clones, but really Revenge of the Sith is basically that got the ball rolling, got the wheel
yeah,
turning in terms of what I have today as such. So they were
yeah,
the sort of the mixture, but it'd have to be a split between 30th anniversary and possibly the Revenge of the Sith line. But honorable mentions to Legacy and the Saga Legends.
yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
superb figure.
So you just take us back. You must have been growing up round about the late 90s then, and then sort of like
Yeah. So
yeah,
obviously I was born in September of '98. So obviously a year, well, I say a year, just under a year later, obviously Phantom Menace came out in '99, and obviously I was
yeah,
only one at the time. And then obviously it was mainly sort of around about 2002, 2003, 2004 era where slowly but surely you discover more things as such as a kid. And
yeah,
Star Wars was literally just out the blue as such in terms of a few mates here and there from way back when in terms of discovering stuff. The odd figure here and there as such, but it was mainly sort of like the video side of it. So like Phantom Menace
yeah,
and Attack of the Clones. And then when I was old enough, around about the age of 6, back in 2005, Revenge of the Sith was the big one that went, wow,
yeah,
this is what Star Wars is as such, obviously from my point of view as
yeah,
a young fan from the prequel era as such. But it's sort of that period of time, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, that really started getting it going. And
yeah,
yeah, just experiencing it on video and then obviously getting it on DVD with the old school silver collection of the new editions as such when they re-edited
yeah.
stuff. That was that really sort of high moment. I thought this is Star Wars and this is pretty cool. And many years later, the collection has grown all thanks to that period of time and
It
friends and reenacting stuff. Really,
it's amazing how something like that can affect you going forward and have such an impact on people. I
mm,
mean, you alluded to it, the amount of figures and different characters that come out within those lines that you mentioned were absolutely tremendous. You had all sorts of different aliens, clone troopers, all sorts of characters,
mm,
and it is such a shame that, like you've said as well, that we don't get those kind of characters
yeah.
today in the TVC line.
Exactly, yeah. But even looking back and just scrolling through the collection the other day in terms of reorganize it, even the limited articulation, it was limited, but the detail was so good in
Yeah,
terms of, for instance, I was going through an old one the other day of my Clone Commander Cody figure from the Revenge of the Sith line, the Saga. I think it was either the Saga collection or the Saga Legends line, where there's limited movement in the elbow as such, but the sheer ferocity of the figure and the detail is tremendous in terms of the uh, bits of the armor damage, the
yeah,
carbon scoring, the removable helmet, the scar down the side of the head. It was just sheer detail, limited movement, but the quality was fine.
but
And
but as a
that's
kid
the real selling point as a
excuse
kid.
me, I was gonna say as a kid, Did that bother you so much with the articulation, or were you just happy to have? Because I mean, look, listen, back in 77, 78, 79, and, with the vintage Kenner, we had only 5 POA, but that
Mm,
never really bothered us too much. We were, like, so engrossed with those figures at that time that we had a representation of Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, the rest of the characters. I mean, the choice obviously back then wasn't as big as what we have today, that's for sure. But I mean, our imagination took over and we were happy with what we had. Like, I mean, did that bother you as a kid with the articulation and or were you happy with what you had?
as a kid, coming to think of it just now, not particularly. No, it's just the sheer scale of the volume of the stuff in terms of the releases of the figures and
Mm,
reenacting certain scenes, whether it be the Battle of Geonosis or the Battle of Utapau or a duel on Mustafa or Battle of Kashyyyk, any little bits and bobs like that. It was just because the volume of figures was so well done and the scale was perfect. Articulation didn't even play a picture in my mind. It was just a sheer volume of the stuff
yeah,
and just the imagination taken over to think, oh, that wouldn't it be great to be in the world of Star Wars? And obviously, as you get older, you obviously you mature as such in terms of what aspects of the collection you want to collect. But even some of the 5 POA they released from the Force Awakens Last Jedi line, that didn't really bother me in the slightest. It's just that we're getting figures where the detail was, yeah, I don't mind that. But to answer your question again, no chance. Articulation,
no,
I was just happy to have the figure and just let my world
yeah,
of
yeah,
imagination of Star Wars take over with my mates, whether it be reenacting or watching the films, really. But
yeah.
yeah, not a concern, but loved it regardless.
So Star Wars certainly played a massive role in your childhood. And what other toy lines were available at that time? Because again, I was past that age of collecting toys, and I didn't really become a collector until later on in life.
Mm,
So I was in my like early mid to early 20s, round about
mm.
that time. And I can't remember what toy lines were around in the early 2000s for youngsters.
So in early 2000s, in terms of what I can remember as such, you obviously had the Phantom Menace line from
Yeah,
99 going into 2000 in terms of that period of time. You obviously had your Attack of the Clones line back in '02, '03 era. And obviously you had Revenge of the Sith line of figures coming out. And then some of
yeah,
the lines I alluded to earlier on, whether it be the Legacy Collection, Saga Legends, Saga
yeah,
collection line, and then obviously moving on to a small aspect of my collection, but what I absolutely adore was the Star Wars: The Clone Wars line, going from the mid 2000 up into
yeah,
the 2010, and then you had aspects of 30th anniversary collection where it the expanded universe, Force Unleashed, all different little aspects of Star Wars where
yeah,
it was getting better and the
yeah.
quality and scale of it was getting better. And if I'm being honest, looking back at it now, absolutely sport rotten considering with some of the
Yeah,
vintage
yeah. Oh, oh, definitely, definitely. I mean,
and
crikey. I mean,
they were they were high selling points for me. But as I said, just the vast range of characters and the sheer
yeah,
quality of figures. You'd get, say, maybe 2 or 3 releases of characters, but you get different versions, whether it be like a battle damage one or uh, one who's been transformed as such. Like, say, for instance,
yeah,
looking back like a Darth Vader 3 pack, you get Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith, you get his Vader outfit, and then you get another version of Skywalker. It was just the
yeah,
sheer volume of it. They were just hitting the ball out of the park, and there were so many throwbacks and so many great journeys to Toys R Us and the Entertainer and stuff like that. Going back and saying this is right, this is brilliant in terms of collecting because the sheer scale and the volume, the whole atmosphere around collecting was huge. And obviously, bearing in mind,
yeah,
social media was just at its early stages in terms of like Facebook and stuff. But you shared stuff whether it be on a brief Facebook page or the early stages of obviously what is YouTube now. That's become a vast and high range of collecting for many fans. But
yeah,
them toy lines, they were superb. And looking back at old figures and old images and old videos of old school reviewers, you go, we lived in a really good time for collecting. And don't get me wrong, the technology is getting better, but if we only had that little nitpicks of characters here, characters there, then it would have been even
yeah,
huger. The
yeah.
lines back then were tremendous and sport
Oh,
rotten
yeah,
based.
yeah. Without a doubt, without a doubt. But what about other IPs? What about other toy lines other than Star Wars? I mean, because when we were younger, you had Star Wars and it was like G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, Mask, that type of thing. Was there anything else in that time period for you that tickled your fancy, or was it just Star Wars? Or if not, what else was Star Wars competing with in that time?
So in terms of that period of time, obviously Star Wars obviously played a huge role. There was a little aspect of sort of like miniature soldiers. I
Yeah.
believe, trying to remember, it was like like the sort of like the airfix soldiers. You get
Oh,
like
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, yeah,
from like model, like from Model Zone, you get like a small sort of packaging of like a particular regiment, whether it be like say the British Eighth Army or a
yeah,
particular German army, sort of like little miniature soldiers I used to collect with as a kid and everything. Other stuff in terms of whether it be like say Beyblades, Action Men. I had a really fantastic aspect of like a sort of like when I was really younger, like sort of like a Thomas the Tank Engine collection in terms of like a custom stash, obviously bought like Thomas stand as such, with like bridges and railways and stuff like that. Later, in terms of sort of like before early tens, where we be like wrestling figures. Um, I'm trying to think of other stuff as well, but it's sort of mainly sort of like army aspect wrestling,
yeah.
early stage as a youngster, maybe 4 or 5, Thomas stuff, and maybe even early. But they're the sort of ones that stand out for me as such, because some of them obviously still got up in our loft and everything, because it's a
Yeah,
nice treasured memory as such. But they
yeah.
were sort of the odd ones there. But I did like me army stuff as a kid, like my miniature
Okay.
soldiers and stuff
Oh,
like that.
cool,
From
cool.
obviously rest in peace to what was Model Zone, which was a cracking shop if you ever
Oh,
need.
yeah, yeah, absolutely stunning. Some of the stuff you could get in there was and it was such a shame when they closed down. I was, like, absolutely gutted. I mean, but towards the end, they were selling a lot of stuff that you could have got for about 80, 90 quid for absolute silly money, and it's
Yeah,
such a shame
it's
to
such a
see a shop like that
yeah,
go down
but
the tube.
they have some cracking stuff in there. But yeah,
Yeah,
sort of mainly Star Wars, bit of wrestling, early stages when I was a kid, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 Thomas stuff, Beyblades, wrestling, Action Man, Star Wars, and
yeah.
sort of other aspects things as a kid, sort of like late 90s, early noughties kids that were like huge stuff to be with. But yeah, vast range of stuff really. But Star Wars is the one that's
Star
still
Wars
is.
was the one that stood out. Yeah, yeah. And what
Sort of,
about I mean, do you have any sort of, like, memories of, like, particular birthdays or Christmases where there's something that's really sort of, like, stood out for you was when I mean, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong here, but with your birthdays and Christmas, it was all predominantly Star Wars.
Yeah, it was a mixture of both really, sort of birthday like Star Wars stuff like that, and obviously the football team I support as a kid, whether it be my football shirts that I collected
Yeah,
as a kid, such the team I support. But I remember one Christmas, I can't remember the year, it was either 2004 or 2000, it may have been 2005. It was obviously the year of Revenge of the Sith. I remember receiving a few Star Wars figures here and there, and the one that sort of I can remember the most is obviously getting a PlayStation 2 with Star Wars Battlefront 2 on there,
oh, what a
playing the
game
old
that was,
school
wasn't it? I mean, what a
game.
game that was,
It's
Battlefront.
brilliant. I've
Yeah,
got it
yeah,
on the latest Xbox edition on backward
yeah,
capability, and I still play it here and there. And even though the graphics are different, it's still a cool game. And that was a treasure piece that I will live till forever as such in terms of a memory.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
aspects of like one that Christmas where I got Anakin's starfighter from the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith. I
Oh,
remember
wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I remember getting sort of like a couple of clones from Revenge of the Sith and Jedi here and there, and obviously I've got a decent bit of money for Christmas. And then just before, I think it was like New Year's Eve or just prior to that, Boxing Day, went down Toys R Us, spent most of my money on a load of new Star Wars stuff as well. So that was a nice big gathering with a huge trolley load of Star Wars, weaving about the aisles and say, "I'll have that, that." Yeah, you got enough? Yeah, I'll have that. But that, that was a high. That's one that thing
yeah,
that sticks with me
yeah.
that I can sort of still remember. Now you've sort of mentioned it, you remember saying, "Oh, that was a great one." And even other aspects, whether you're getting a Force Unleashed on Nintendo Wii, playing that as such, Lego Star Wars and all that lot, and other Star Wars games. But it was, yeah, sort of, it was a mixture of Star Wars and aspects and stuff, would be like clothes and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And my football kits, I used to obviously have the team I support as a kid and all that lot. But it's sort of a mixture of all really, but a really nice sentimental value as such as you get older. And
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely, definitely.
they're sort of the ones that stand out the most at Toys R Us and the Christmas Day
Yeah.
Star Wars stuff, which is a
Oh,
huge,
yeah,
huge.
superb, superb. And what about, like, children's TV? Because I mean, again, in the era of the '80s and stuff like that, we had Mask, we had Thundercats, we had He-Man. Transformers, GI Joe, and Saturday mornings were just absolutely superb. I remember going around a friend's house on a Saturday morning. We just sit and watch, the Saturday morning TV shows, which were like Transformers and GI Joe. Then we
Mm.
go off and play, that kind of thing. There wasn't too much in the way of Star Wars TV back then. It was all predominantly films, wasn't it? So, I mean,
Yeah.
did anything catch your eye or stand out for you as viewing for kids back then?
Kids back then, obviously the era I grew up with, obviously like the likes of Looney Tunes, the Tom and
Yeah.
Jerry show as such, maybe a bit of obviously SpongeBob SquarePants here and there. And would you believe, as a
Oh,
kid, maybe the age of 6, 7, 8 or stuff, I used to like watching Knight Rider with my grandparents. Used
wow.
to
Yeah.
stay up
God,
till
Knight
a bit.
Rider.
I
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
watch Knight
Yeah.
Rider before I used to go to school. It was on at 8 o'clock. I went to school at 8:30, 8:45 to get in. So it's just like a 30-second walk from here to there. And I used to watch Knight Rider. I used to love it. Obviously, Kit and
Wow.
all that
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Other stuff here and there. Obviously, the Clone Wars TV show later on as I got
Yeah.
older as such. Other stuff as a kid, whether it be Scooby Doo, and sort of other stuff really. I'm trying to think of stuff off the top of my head, but they were sort of like the odd one here and there. But yeah,
Yeah.
funny to say that a young kid would like watching Knight Rider, and it was on the
Yeah.
telly.
No, I mean, that
It
was
was
a great
fun.
series.
I was young, but it was
Great
cool.
series. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but they're the few that really stand out for me:
Yeah.
Scooby Doo, Knight Rider, Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, SpongeBob here and there, and maybe the odd stuff on Cartoon Network or CBBC or the Boomerang channel that they used to have, or
Yeah,
Cartoon
'cause I
Network
think the
on Sky.
Rugrats were around about that time, weren't they, on
Rugrats,
Nickelodeon?
yeah,
Rugrats, that was good,
brief
wasn't it?
watching that
Wow.
as well.
Yeah.
Sort of like the odd noughties show, but they're the few that I can think off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
time, blessed to be in that period. I mean, some kids don't know what they've got these days in terms of the year. And
Well, no, do you know what? It is really refreshing to hear you say that because you're a generation after us, after myself and
yeah,
predominantly most of the people that we chat to within the toy collecting community. So to
mm,
get your take on things growing up in the mid 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, it is so refreshing because the people I
mm,
speak to, they were born in the 70s, mid 70s, they grew up in the 80s, and for us that was a real golden era of
mm,
toys and TV series. And to hear you say that about your generation, I just think that's superb because,
mm.
yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. When it comes to your favorite toy line, I don't even know why I'm going to ask you this question because I know the answer. Why was Star Wars your favorite toy line? What was it that stood out for you? You've probably answered it anyway, but what was it that stood out for you with Star Wars more so than any other toy line in that day and age for you?
I just think it's the camaraderie it has with people in terms of it brings people together regardless of
Mm,
walks of life and regardless of different parts of the world. I have many friends to this day who still watch Star Wars. They don't collect the aspect I do, but they still watch it. But I just think it's just a camaraderie ship in terms of bringing people together and just enjoying something that is in the moment. And in terms of obviously the prequel era and obviously my generation going, it was just a togetherness really, whether it be mates at school, where we would reenact stuff at school like Star Wars duels or go around each other's houses and reenact battles and stuff. It's just really the togetherness really, and
yeah,
the toy line, as I said earlier on, it's just hit the ball out of the park in terms of the vast range of figures we've got from the films as such, and even characters that probably had maybe 1 second of screen time. It just you go, we'll release a figure. It's just can't remember seeing him. I will release a figure. It's just a sheer volume of the love and the togetherness, really. And I honestly think as well, I think in terms of not a lot of social media at the time, just it wasn't sort of frowned upon. It was sort of like, yes, you're in that particular
yeah,
group, such,
yeah,
but it's just like it's what you like and everything. But now that the world has evolved and more stuff's coming together, whether it's Star Wars, DC, Marvel, it's more and more. I mean, it's always acceptable as such, but it's becoming even more acceptable because the vast
yeah,
range of stuff we're getting, whether it be TV shows or films. But for me, I just think it's the camaraderie and the togetherness, really, and the family and friendship aspect of it that just brings
yeah,
people together. Because
yeah,
I think that's just the best thing, mate. And like I said, if you can come together for a couple of hours and watch a film or reenact stuff or collect stuff, it's a beautiful thing, mate. And that's the big selling point for me as such. And it's a nice, refreshing aspect to do you know what? it may be only a film, but it makes you feel good, and that's the best thing about it, really.
Do you know what? Again, you've hit the nail on the head. Again, because we grew up in the original trilogy era. It was a feel good film. I remember a couple of times I played sick, and well, I was very ill, mum, if you're watching. But I was off school, and as soon as my mum and dad went to work, I knew how to put the video recorder in and play the. I would sit and watch Star Wars movies all day,
Mm.
and it made me feel. I don't know. It makes you feel so good, doesn't it? It really
Yeah.
does. It gives you that. I don't know what it is about those movies, but they were the go-to movies when I felt ill as a kid. Um, when did you stop playing with your toys and become a collector?
So I think in terms of stop playing with my toys, it may be sort of maybe been around about 2009, 2010 in terms of leaving primary school and then
Yeah,
going into secondary school. Also, it's getting to the point where turning to the lights of obviously 11, 12 years old, where obviously you're getting ready for the big world in terms of obviously secondary school. And that was sort of like the era stuff. I still collected here and there. There was like a little
yeah,
phase where I didn't collect a load of stuff for like a little period of time. There's the odd figure here and there that I collected. But around about, I want to say around about 2009, 2010, possibly 2011 was like a period, excuse me, where I stopped. And yeah, just left them in a box as such. Obviously, just checked on them here and there in terms of what was going on, making sure obviously things are okay in terms of the odd accessory here and there as such. But sort
yeah,
of around about that period, and then there was just a period of time where obviously I got into a period of time where watching a few here and there Star Wars YouTubers on YouTube from that period of time, and it was sort of around about the time of 2014, a period of time maybe. Trying to think sort of around about the middle of the year or coming towards the early or late stages of November, where for 2014, let's make a YouTube channel. Let's just kick it off. And obviously, a decade later, it's here we are as such. So that has been another groundbreaking point from my point of view. But yeah, around
mm,
about 2009, 10, 11, really, that was the period where I was like, you know what, I'm not going to play with them anymore because I had friends who sold their collections.
yeah.
It's a shame. And then they say years later saying, "Oh, we should have given it to you and everything." So I would have bought it. I would have had it. But yeah, sort of around about that period where we still like Star Wars and everything, but the
Yeah,
aspect of growing up as such and everything. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
as the years go by and obviously as stuff gets better, I thought, you know what, let's change the room up, a few shelves here and there, a crappy old camera that's now well and truly gone, and like I said, the collection and the channels here today. So it's
So
had moments.
I was going to ask you about your channel, but as we're here, I might as well ask you about it now. What was it then that got you into doing your own channel? And I mean, did you have any influences or people that influenced you to do the channel? Did anybody give you any advice back in that day, back in those
Yeah,
times?
I obviously I remember years and years ago. I used to have one of the iPhone, not the iPhone, sorry, the I think it was the iPod Nano. I think it was the iPod.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
remember the actual name. And the odd occasion, I just used to get out and just record some of my figures as such, maybe like a little reenactment or a few figures saying I've got this figure and this figure as such. And they're like on the old iPods. I don't know if I still got it somewhere. I'd have to check. And it's just sort of like small little videos here. And then as you get to a point where obviously me being at secondary school, obviously got to have a laptop in the house, obviously got to do homework and stuff like that. Just typed in Star Wars figures or stuff like that. And there was obviously like vast range of collections going on. And I came across a YouTube channel that's still present to this day. And obviously I got the great opportunity to speak and meet to him at Comic Con, and that is Sith Lord 229. He was the one that really got me into it, and obviously he's been
yeah,
around for many years, and obviously well known in the Star Wars YouTube uh, collecting side of the world. And there was a few odd uh, channels here and there, the likes of Filmmaker Mike, Rasputin 37, Daniel East 1000, and a few odd ones here and there. And I just thought to myself, that seems interesting. They're showing their collections as such. And
yeah,
then it's one period of time where I was at school with a good friend of mine, Daniel Barber, who I still keep in contact now and again. I was sort of umming and ahhing and thinking, I'm thinking of starting a YouTube collection.
mm,
And he's saying, well, why don't you try it and everything? And then there was a period of time where one day I just started up, late November 2014, and then a couple of weeks later, I uploaded a load of stuff, and then a few people at school got to see it as such, whether it be like say a load of teachers I got on really well with, and because initially I didn't want my channel to be known, I just wanted to be quiet. But my mate said, let's tell a few people. I was like,
Yeah.
well, okay, let's try it. And then odd parts here and there. Maybe there was a little bit of time at the end of the lesson. They used to watch my videos, whether it be in drama or English or stuff like that. And then the views just got better and better. Discovered more stuff to the community. Discovered more people, and obviously the camera got better. The quality got better, the intros got better, the speaking and aspects of obviously reviewing the figure got better. And to say that I've been on YouTube 10 years and obviously nearly at 1,000
That's
subscribers, I
insane.
just
It's
wouldn't.
insane. I mean, you must have been quite young because I mean, you're not old now. So you
No.
must have been, you know, if you're still at school, you were what, 14, 15?
So 2014. So I'm 20. So I'm 26 now. So around about 16. 16.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
mad. That is absolutely mad. I mean, tip me out of tier. I really do. Tip me out of
Yeah.
tier. That is insane. And it interests me to hear you say that you didn't want your channel to be mentioned to anybody.
Yeah.
Why was that? Listen, I was in the same boat. I had a few people that knew, the people in the community knew, but people at work didn't know that I had a channel. And it was only, you think, what, early last year, maybe the year before that,
Mm.
that they know that I've got a channel. So why was it then for you that you didn't want your channel to be known to people at school or anybody else?
I think looking back at it now, I think it was sort of like obviously wanted it to grow a bit as such.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, you get aspects of thinking, oh, will people take the piss and all that lot. There's a few sort of like laughs here and there, but looking back at it, I don't see it as like an insult. It's sort of like a positive outcome, or like an eagerness to say, let's keep going as such. And it was just a period of time of, well, I don't know, and everything. And then once mates of mine watched it, and a few teachers who I got really on well with lifestyles as such, to say, your collection's amazing as such. And bearing in mind, it was very small compared to what it is now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, do you know, I just want to share my passion for Star Wars. And everyone knew that I love Star Wars as such, whether it be like, say, I don't know, like a Star Wars pencil case, or maybe
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
t-shirt here and there. And then it, like say, going into a sixth form and everything, and obviously seeing the movies, and obviously getting a little bit older, and obviously showing more content around the world of YouTube. And it just got better and better, and the views were there. And you do come across the odd idiot now and again, and obviously the odd thing here and there. But most comments have been very pleasant.
Yeah.
Most of them, I'm absolutely delighted with the engagement in terms of it. But I think just the whole atmosphere around it is brilliant. And maybe years ago you were considered, I don't know, maybe a nerd or stuff like that. But I think as the
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
got on, it's become even massive. Like I said, as I said earlier, DC, Marvel, Star Wars. Like I said, it was only a small period, but even sort of like, say for instance, I say the cool kids and stuff, they're discovering it, and
Yeah.
it's just, everyone loves it now. Oh, you got a Marvel T-shirt? That's cool. You got a Star Wars bag? That's cool. Whereas years ago, you go, is he a nerd or stuff like that? It's just becoming more and more
Yeah, yeah. No,
engulfed in.
I get that. I get that. And you know, like I said to you, I had my channel, and I was kind of like an inward collector. So there's only a certain amount of people that knew. People at work didn't know that I had a channel. They didn't know I had a collection. It got out. I never told anybody, but someone saw my like picture on YouTube, or my thumbnail on YouTube or whatever, and
Mm.
my logo and that, and he said, "Oh, that looks like Stu," and he clicked on it, and he's like, "Oh God, it is." So of course he's then messaging people first thing on a Sunday morning who I work with. Oh, look, and then I kind of had a comment on one of my channels and or one of my videos, and I knew when that comment went in, I knew someone from work had knew, but I didn't know who it was. Anyway,
Mhm.
I found out, and they said, "Why didn't you tell anybody?" And I said, "Well, because I want to keep it separate, because this is something that I do outside of work. This is something that I enjoy. I've got a passion for. You know, I've made a lot of friends doing this, and I don't want it to. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to interfere with work or work to interfere with it." And since he said that's fair enough, and they've been as good as gold. They have been as good as gold, which I really appreciate.
No, that's
But
that's that's
yeah,
really nice to hear, mate. Same with my
yeah,
friends. They're like, yeah, we'll have a laugh here. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't
yeah.
bother me. if I was this severely bothered with it, I'd have never created it in the first place or delete it
Yeah,
straight away. It's out there. It's like, yeah, have a laugh,
yeah.
take the piss. It don't bother me. It's
I
just
mean,
like,
it was inevitable that people were gonna find out. It was 'cause you're not gonna hide it
it's
forever,
yeah,
but, you know,
hide
they
it.
found out, it's all good. That's because you always have this, this feeling of, "Oh god," you know, that you are gonna get the mick taken out of you and stuff like that. And like I
Yeah,
say, I was kinda like an inward collector, but ever since I've been on YouTube, I've been more confident about telling yeah, yeah, I collect toys, vintage,
yeah,
modern toys. You know, it does, and I'm quite proud of that fact now. And it, you know, and I think there was such a stigma back in the day of, like you say, he's got a Star Wars bag, he's got a Star Wars pencil case. What a nerd! What a but at the end of the day, you know, as kids, 8-year-olds, and maybe well, maybe up to about 10 or 11 before you went to secondary school, it was the thing to do. You had your Spider-Man bags, you had your every
yeah,
kid had it in one form or another, but, you know, certain people sort of, like, took it to that next level, didn't they? And it's, "Oh, look at him, he's a nerd and he's a geek," and all that sort of stuff, and
yeah.
that's where that stigma sort of, like, you know, come from.
Yeah, and like I said, it's become more and more popular as the world has grown and everything, and it's
Mm.
huge. Like I said, you see more and more people doing stuff, more and more collectors and people coming on YouTube where it's only that small community where it's become even massive now.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think that's the thing that really makes it good. And obviously, social media has played a part in terms of obviously when it did start with people, it was only a small thing, whether it be like a Facebook group in here and there. But now we've got the likes of Twitter, Instagram, obviously with like certain like say Google Hangouts and stuff like that, or other vast social media aspects we use, whether it be
yeah.
Skype or stuff like that. It's just grown, and I think far more people are diving into world of collecting, and it's just a nice hobby to have. And you mentioned there Spider-Man. That was another huge part of my childhood. I loved my Spider-Man stuff or
Oh,
my
wow,
Bat.
okay.
Just obviously the old brain boxes just tick stuff like that. It's just a
Yeah,
huge uh, aspect of what makes you a kid because you're going to get
yeah.
into different toy lines and stuff, and that is the real beauty. And the way the
Like,
world is now is we are some
do you
aspects we are spoiled.
do you think, because there are some people out there that don't collect, they don't get it, and they're kinda like on the
Yeah,
outside looking in. Do you do you think that these people deep down are wanting to get into something, but they don't want that, you know, that they're worried about the stigma of being called a nerd or a geek, or
mm,
people taking the mick out of them? Because I mean, like you say, it has grown, the, you know, the collecting community. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's relatively small compared to some of the other um communities out there. But you know, it's getting bigger, which is good. You still get your idiots, and you're going to get that regardless, no matter what you do in life, and
mm.
unfortunately. But I mean, so do you think that the people that are on the outside looking in, they don't really understand and get the whole concept of being a collector, and what joy it can bring to people?
I think it could be a mixture of both. Really, I think it's into terms of what era you want to collect. And the other aspect in terms of what I went through is obviously, yes, I've got collection here and there, but how do you transform your room as such? So obviously, this is my collection, this is my room as such. So I had a mixture of both. So right, I'm going to do collecting, but how am I going to present my room?
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
my dad very kindly. Obviously, this is a newer update as such, but originally you just had the top shelf there, which was like just like you had
that's
one at
larger.
the top. You had one at the top and you had two at the
Yeah,
bottom, if I can remember. It's just like a little range as such in terms of what you were doing. So I'll just move out the way as such. So it's sort of like it's not as big as it was now and everything, but it's completely changed. Like I say, if you go back and watch like old versions of my collection, you'll see how it's changed a lot. Where there's more shelves above the door here, more
yeah,
shelves above the telly. It was sort of like know what you're going to aim at in terms of how you want to achieve it. So make sure you've got the right space. Make sure you've got like a decent income coming in terms of what you want to collect. And it's
yeah,
just knowing both sides of the fence really in terms of what you
yeah,
want. And I think that is the sheer beauty in terms of collecting. But it's just like you can ask around. There's no point asking around as such and everything. But it's just like ideas and aspects and sort of like growth as such in terms of what you're going to do does play a huge role. But I just think it's sort of like whether it be space, cost, and basically knowing what outlook of your room or
yeah.
luxurious space you want for a collection. Because let's face it, it's not exactly cheap. But
No.
Lucasfilm have earned an awful lot of money, but I'm not complaining.
Yes, they have.
I
They
like
have.
more Hot Toys and more glass collections as such. Maybe I could do it. I've got some money behind me, but it's just like finding the space as such. But
Yeah.
it's just sort of knowing what point and what thing to prove as such. What do you want to gain out of it? And I think even just speaking to people here and there, get some ideas, take some inspiration online, and just say, do you know what? That's for me. I'll do it. Or do you know what? Start small and maybe grow big. But I think it's just all about talking, really. Just speak to people, because that's a huge thing. As you said there, doing YouTube, you can gain more confidence. You can become more of what's the word? More a better present in terms of like speaking to yourself, more knowledge. Bits of knowledge here and there, taking inspiration from in there. It's nice to have the puzzles fit in different spots. Like that goes there. I can take this bit, that bit there. It's just a nice aspect that just brings people together, and that's it for me. Just talk to people, and do you know what? I'll do it. Do you know what? Give it a few years, move into a new house, then I'll start a collection room. It's just really on how you want to do it.
Yeah.
That's my take on it, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Ask questions, because it's you will get good answers, which is
I mean, there's plenty of knowledgeable people out there for sure, and and the people I've spoken to, I mean, I've seen some of the collections they've got, and look, everybody's collection is totally different, which is absolutely fantastic. Yes, we all may collect the same stuff. I mean, a lot of people predominantly collect Star Wars and stuff like that, but you get other people collecting DC, G.I. Joe, Transformers, all sorts of different toy lines, which is fantastic. And I've always said that there's no right way to collect, there's no wrong way to collect, there's no right way to display it, there's no wrong way to display it. It's all down to personal preference, and we've seen plenty of that within the community, and especially on this series, which is good. Just moving on. Do you have a sentimental piece in your collection or a prized piece in your collection?
Prized piece or sentimental?
I mean, it doesn't even have to be Star Wars. I mean, I can see you got your football shirts on the back there.
Yeah. Oh, I was just sorting through out some of them the other day. I think in recent times, in terms of sort of like a prize stuff, there's been like a few Star Wars busts that my uncle very kindly gave me. So I've got a few like little miniature Star Wars helmets and busts here and there, and there's like a particular Jango Fett figure that my dad bought me as a kid, custom joys that my uncle made. It's a tough one, really, because there's a few ones here and there, but I think in recent times for me, it just maybe the odd Star Wars helmet here and there. Like, so I've got a Darth Vader helmet, which is pretty cool, from my parents for my birthday one year. But I think it may be just like the odd sort of like Star Wars bust. I mean, I can get.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, but I've noticed a few of the busts within your collection, and I kind of alluded to those. I think there's some fantastic.
They're sort of like more of a recent thing. Like I said, there's so many things. I've been very. So these ones here, these were that my uncle very kind enough gave me the sort of. I think if I can remember, they were. I'm not too sure if it was. Masters replica. I mean, these were huge back in the day. These.
I mean, they do look so cool, and I think the space wise, I think they're absolutely amazing, because the Black Series helmets can be are big and can take up a lot of room. But I mean, I'm liking those.
Yeah, I mean, if they could go back and make these again, they would knock the ball out of the park even further. I mean, they're amazing. But I think in terms of what you're getting, the quality is fantastic. And these sort of in recent times have been huge in everything. I mean, I got one from I think it was a Gentle Giant one, the Commander Cody one, and it's like a Christmas one, and it's like the Order of the 66 part, but it's holding up a little snowman. It's just like little sentimental values like that. I mean, I've got a few more here, because it's handy, because obviously I reorganised the collection the other day, so they're above the telly, which is a huge bonus. And obviously I'm trying not to go arse over head with it and going, I don't want to break that. So even these ones like that, I mean,
they look great, don't they?
Really cool. They've got nice sentimental value. Obviously, my uncle, my dad's brother, who collected these and very kindly gave me these to the collection. But it's just a sheer volume. I mean, the detail is absolutely awesome in terms of what you're
Yeah, they
getting
look
and the
great.
weapons,
They look great.
and the detail. They weigh a little bit, and obviously you've got to be very careful, such. But
Yeah,
it's just the sheer volume and the detail. I mean, even in doing the two finger gesture in terms of like moving the troops along, even that is just extremely good.
yeah,
But it's just the sheer um, volume and obviously what they released back in the day. I mean, these are massive now on eBay on the secondary market. But back then, it's
yeah.
like we want more of this, Hasbro. Go back and fill our
I mean, the
pockets up
paint
and fill
apps look absolutely
our this.
stunning on those. I've got to say, the paint apps on that with the pair of them,
Yeah,
they just look so cool, don't they?
they're brilliant. And considering obviously with the lighting as such, I mean, in person
Yeah,
you go, they weigh a little bit, but the detail is massive.
yeah.
And I'll show you a couple more before we move on. These are obviously some of the droids that my uncle very kind enough put together. They're sort of like little models
Oh wow.
with stands and just make sure.
Yeah, go
Right.
careful with those.
Yeah. There's a few more up there, but I'm going to sort of leave these to the last two. But these are like model B1 droids that you very kind enough put together, and obviously they've got a stand at the bottom here. But it's just
Yeah, look at that.
they look like
Wow.
they just came off the screen, didn't they? Do you know, like when you see behind the scenes of Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith saying, "Oh, we use
Like
like
a
little
movie prop, like a
like,
replica
yeah,
sort of thing, or yeah,
and
yeah,
obviously
miniature. I
a
mean,
pair of them.
again, the paint details look absolutely stunning on
Yeah,
those.
they're quality, and in terms of what you're getting, we want
Yeah,
more of this, Hasbro. Come on, like I said, we want more. We're crying
yeah,
out for this. But these are just of the odd few here and there in terms of obviously where I am in the room as such, and obviously where this is
yeah,
being recorded. So it's an ideal I can just go from up there and everything. But it's just the odd ones here and there. There's probably a few here later on. I go, oh, should have said that, but it's just they're the odd ones here and there. Obviously, they're very kindly given to me by my uncle, and obviously had a
yeah.
few ones given to me from my parents and
Mm.
other family members. But they're the odd ones that are like they're cool. And I would get the helmets, but we'd be here all night with the helmets. So
Yeah, no, that's
we'll
fine.
leave
That's
it
fine.
there.
I mean, you've got the photos in your intro and stuff like that, so
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah. Enjoy the photos. Dive into that.
Yeah,
You'll
oh
be
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, people do like seeing other people's collections. That's the good thing about this series. You know,
yeah,
it gives you a chance to put your collection out there and stuff like that, and different people come and have a look and stuff like that. And oh, yeah, that's nice. I like that. And
mm,
because listen, we're all kind of like copycats in a way. I mean, we have our own unique ways of displaying and collecting and stuff like that. But you've got to admit, and I will, that I've seen people's how they've displayed their collections and think, God, that is a fantastic idea. I love that. So I
yeah.
saw this guy using guitar stands to display some of his ships on.
Oh
And I
wow.
thought that's a fantastic idea. So I went and got myself, I've got about 4 or 5 different guitar stands. Don't play the guitar, but my God, my clones era ships look fantastic on it. The Arc Fighter, Arc 170, the Republic shuttle, the Republic gunship, and what else did I have? I've got the Torrent fighter as well. So they're all great. They all look fantastic up on these guitar stands. It gives the collection a bit of depth. My
Yeah,
wife, bless her, has kittens every time I walk past it. You're going to knock it off, but
yeah,
but then I got that idea from someone else. I
yeah.
saw
No,
it on YouTube and
that's
I thought, what a
fantastic.
fantastic idea. So we all sort of like take each other's ideas. I mean, listen, no one owns the copyright to using a guitar stand for displaying stuff. You know, people are going to
Yeah,
take ideas, and I've got no issue with that at all. So, and look, listen, if anybody like copied how I displayed stuff, I take that as a compliment because I'm thinking, yeah,
yeah.
that's really good. You know, I'm happy someone's appreciates that and stuff like that. Um, with grail pieces, I mean, is there a grail piece that you would like to add to your collection? I mean, when I say grail piece, I don't mean the most expensive thing in the world. It could be something that you've seen at a toy fair or a store, and you think, "I get that," and then you go back and get it, and it's gone, and you haven't seen it again for God knows how long.
Oh, a grail piece.
Mm.
It's fun enough. Just referring back to my uncle, who very kind enough gave me these collections many moons ago, and I'm not too sure if he's still got it. But in his collection room, he sort of had like it's sort of like a half cut of a fiver first trooper, but this thing was massive. So obviously massive helmet, massive chest plate, but it was just sort of
Yeah,
like the the helmet and the chest piece, and I'm not too sure if it did come with arms or they were just halfway, but sort of like a medium-sized, largest size scale of a clone trooper, just like that. But it was
Yeah.
like a sort of like something you'd see like Gentle Giant release, but like a large scale one. And I
Yeah.
thought of that. Well, that's something that would be pretty cool. Maybe it's like a couple of large 501st clone troopers either side of my bed, sort of like looks like they're defending you or such, like you're on
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
management as such. They would be pretty cool. Maybe sort of like maybe some old school clone troopers from maybe back in the day where you can say if you did a time machine, I could get that one here, get that one here, and all that lot. Oh, maybe what we discussed on your charity stream, maybe a few comic packs or a few Order 66 packs
Oh,
from that
do you
era.
know
They're like
those comic packs?
100,000 of what you
You
got.
you're talking about those comic packs. I remember seeing those in the stores at the
Mm,
time when they, and I just thought I wasn't interested
yeah,
because I didn't know anything about. I wasn't deep into the expanded universe. I was so used to having the original Canon 96, and then obviously the Power of the Force came out. But in the meantime, you had like well, it's Legends now, isn't it? It was the
yeah,
expanded universe, and I wasn't really into that, and I kind of regret that. They're like, for me, it was like a barren period of time with when it comes to Star Wars. But seeing those two comic two packs, I was like, "Oh, why didn't I get them?
yeah,
Why did I not get those?" I
yeah.
just, because you see only one and Keith Guppy and what they have in their collections, that inspires you to think, God, yeah, fantastic. But the cost, I won't lie, the cost is
You're
frightening. Is
arm and a
frightening.
it's frightening, arm and a leg, and you go, "Oh, I made that decision, but oh, that's going to cost me
Yeah,
a couple of weeks or a couple of
yeah,
months."
yeah, yeah.
But they're the sort of odd ones here and there. I could think of plenty more, mate, but we'll be here all night, and the stream will be going on forever and ever.
Yeah,
So
well, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
there's so much to joy. I could come to me later on in bed or at work saying, "Oh, should have said that one." And I'll be, "Oh, Mitchy,
Well,
oh,
yeah,
that."
hindsight. Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
But
So
they're the
this
odd ones here
question's,
and there.
you're into your Star Wars. You're really heavy into Star Wars, and it's predominantly what you collect. But
Yep.
if you had the space and money, what other toy line would you dive into as deep as you have done with Star Wars?
Well, in recent times, I've recently collected the Indiana Jones figures, so the sort of like 6-inch figures they've done.
Okay. Yep. Yep.
I've collected. I think I've collected most of them. The only ones I haven't collected here and there is the indie version with him with the monkey from Raiders, and obviously the
Okay.
iconic scene where he picks up the golden idol as such, and obviously
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
where it goes down. But possibly, maybe if they was to release, but they haven't done it since. But maybe like the Indiana Jones line they had, but at a vast scale, sort of like do you know some of the figures they had back in the day? If I could go back, maybe collect some of
Yeah.
the figures.
Yeah.
Whether it be like aspects of Transformers, Spider-Man, Batman. So there's a few here and there, but I think I'll probably have to say in terms of the other toy line I've collected recently, which I didn't see myself collecting until they released the figures and saw reviews on it, probably maybe had to be some of the indie figures. Obviously, the
Oh,
recent,
okay. Interesting.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
the ones back in the day, they really cool ones. Would be Raiders, Temple Doom, Last Crusade, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and obviously Dark of
Yeah.
Destiny. But maybe the indie line, or maybe the odd Batman or Spider Man line, really, just
Oh,
or
Batman.
Transform.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sport for choice, really, really.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
Uh,
yeah, yeah, lot to choose from. But I never got into the Indiana Jones figures, the 3-inch or the 3 and 3/4 inch figures or the 6-inch figures. And there's only one Indiana Jones figure that I have at this moment in time, and he's standing right there, and that's Henry Jones Senior, Sean Connery. And
Great stuff.
yeah, he's just a great. I mean, it's just a guy in a suit, but he's got his little bucket hat, he's got his diary, and he's got his briefcase, and he's got
Yeah,
his Wally
uh,
and stuff like that. And
and
it's, I'm not going to do the impression because I've done it to death, but that's the
Junior,
reason why I got him. That's why I got him. I think
yeah,
he's great. I think he's great. But
and it's
you
Sean
know,
Connery as well, isn't it? It's Junior. It is you, Junior. Don't call me
yeah,
that.
yeah,
What are you
yeah.
doing here? It's Sean Connery.
Honest to God, I had to
Yeah.
get a Sean Connery figure into my collection, but yeah,
Oh,
I'm really pleased I got that. But then I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, he does need indie. He does need indie.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, no, I can't, because once you go down that road, it's it. It's a
you go bigger,
it's,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's a
yeah. It is. It
domino
is. I
effect.
mean,
I'd have him. I'd have her. It's like, oh,
yeah, yeah. It's a big old rabbit hole for sure. And that's the thing, because I mean, when I look at your collection, and then when I look at people like Keith Guppies and Tim's from Boss Bounties and Only One Kenobi, I mean, they've all predominantly just stuck with Star Wars. And I'd think sometimes it would be so much easier if I'd have just stuck with Star Wars, which is what I originally started out to do anyway. But
mm,
then
mm,
2020 come along, and then COVID, and we're all shut down, we're bored, we can't do anything. Watch YouTube, and then you see all these different varieties of figures, these different figure lines that I didn't even know. The modern day versions of the Transformers. Like the Yolo Park, the Black Series for Star Wars. Then you've got Motu and
yeah.
DC Multiverse. From McFarlane. It's just like whoa, okay. And it was like being a kid in a toy shop again. And I was like, yes. And the wife was like, oh, good God. And bless
Yeah.
her, she's been great. She's been great. But it escalates so quick. And all of a sudden, I've gone from vintage collecting, Star Wars vintage collecting, with all the vehicle, well, not all the vehicles, I've still got a couple to get, but and then all the TVC classified. It's so much.
Mm.
And that's why I sometimes think, well, it might have been easier just to stick with Star Wars, but I like a lot of other stuff as well. So
I think
big
that's
old
the beauty,
rabbit holes.
mate. If you like a lot of stuff, it brings the collection together even more, because you can say, I've got the Star Wars aspect, or I've got Batman,
Yeah,
Spider-Man, DC, Marvel, Indie, G.I. Joe, Transformers. It's
yeah,
just all aspects that are in a way similar, but it's a nice hobby to have. And like I said, whether it be at work or stuff's going on, you could just sit back and go, that's all mine. It's just like, this feels right. It's good. And it's a nice breather as well, in terms of sitting back where we're going, I've made the right decision. Or it could be someone who
yeah,
go, well, we shouldn't
yeah.
have done that, but I've got it now, and thanks very much.
Well, if you get it and you think, well, I shouldn't have got it, and then you don't want it, you can always move it on, can't you? I guess there's,
Yeah,
no law that says you got to
exactly. It'd
once
be
you
the
bought it, you got to
norm.
keep it.
Yeah, it'd be the
Yeah,
norm,
yeah.
and someone would be happy. You could go, I've made someone's day. They've got collections, and maybe it's
Yeah.
down to
No,
the
that's
class.
the good thing about this community. It's a generous community for sure, and people always help each other out, which I find pretty cool as well. So I'm liking that aspect of things.
Mm-hmm.
So as we said at the beginning, we met at MCM in London.
We sure did.
Is there is there is there any convention that you would like to go to, and it doesn't matter where in the world, and it was like, that's the one I want to go to?
The aim is for me in the future. I wouldn't mind going to a San Diego Comic Con in the
Okay,
future.
yeah,
I spent that with a few friends of mine. If we could get tickets, go over to the States for a period of time and go there, or possibly maybe a Star Wars celebration in the States or in Europe
mm,
or in Asia, wherever it's going to be. But they're sort of the two, really, whether it be a Comic Con in the States or a Star Wars celebration, whether it be in obviously England,
yeah.
America, or somewhere in Europe. Really, they're the sort of two for me. If I could get the opportunity, I'd love to go to one of them.
Did you go to the celebrations then in England? 2016,
So
2023.
So 2016, I didn't go due to me being at sixth form and me studying and everything, but I'd love to have gone. So I watched all the
Yeah.
live streams and stuff on YouTube. That was brilliant. But I went to the final day in 2023 with a friend of mine from
Okay.
YouTube. We met
Yeah.
up. He came over and we spent the day there. And obviously, I got the opportunity to meet one of the Star Wars hosts as well, Anthony Carboni. Got a brief chat and got a picture of him. And
Oh,
I
wow.
got to mention a group of lads from the YouTube channel called YouTube community called Blind Wave, where they react and play games to a few things, and they obviously got a very
Yeah.
good Star Wars YouTube channel as well. So I got to meet them and have a chat and have a photo with them as well. But yeah, Celebration 2023 on the final day was my first experience of Star Wars Celebration, and I loved it. Yes, people go, "Oh, it's the final day, is the stuff there?" I managed to pick up some great pickups, but the whole atmosphere was brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it helped well with going to a few MCM Comic Cons prior, with
Yeah.
predominantly Star Wars in terms of what I was collecting, but I had pictures taken with, like, say, Marvel heroes, DC heroes, people dressed up stuff. It was mainly Star Wars, but the whole
Yeah.
atmosphere around it is just, it's such a good vibe, and the costumes are exceptional. But Star Wars Celebration just on that final day was huge, considering it was just solely Star Wars. The people you meeting from
Yeah.
vast
It
walks
was
of life,
mental.
from different sides of the
Yeah.
ponds, whether in the States, Canada, um, parts of Asia, and parts of Europe. It was just brilliant, and it was huge. But like I said, the collecting, the T-shirts, the merch, and just the whole atmosphere of meeting people that
Mm.
are just here for it, and the atmosphere, like reveals and trailers and
Yeah.
celebrities here and there that people met, and the atmosphere. It's just a really, really good one, and it's something I want to do in the future. And hopefully, touch wood and everything, that'll be either one or possibly both of them will be on my bucket list. Even if I did it once or twice, I've done it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, I
I'll
mean, it's definitely a good thing to go to. I mean, myself and Georgie, we certainly, we've had two totally different experiences of Star Wars Celebration. We went in 2016. It was just the two of us that went. Well, it wasn't because there's a shed load of other people there. We didn't know anybody, was what I'm saying. So we just
yeah,
went on our own, so to speak, and we had a great time. We had a great time. We enjoyed walking around. We met, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, a couple of other people that we
very
met there
nice.
as well, like Star Wars, from Star Wars. And then we went again in 2023, but this time we didn't go and see the actors and whoever. We went because there's a whole congregation of people that we've met in the YouTube community and the toy collecting community that went. We had people like Scuba Pete and Leslie come over from the States. We had Gary Moore come over from the States. Only One was there. BOE was there. Tim from Boss Bounty. Simanga Fandango, he does all, Shabby's brother and stuff like that. It was absolutely incredible. That was just to name a few people. And the experience we had there was totally different to what we had back in 2016, because we went there, we went with friends and stuff like that, and it just adds a whole new different ball game to it. So I mean, if you ever do get to go to one of these conventions and stuff like that, and you meet up with a load of people, it's fantastic. It really is. There's no better
It,
feeling than that.
it,
It's
it
it's
sure is. And
incredible.
even prior to it, saying you got tickets to Comic Con or Celebration, let's meet up, and you get to
Yeah,
grow together and get to know other aspects of the YouTube community, and it just brings people together, and it's just
it does.
and
Yeah,
that's the thing I absolutely adore about the franchise. it's like what you see in the films. Oh, they've been brought
yeah,
together with a particular mission or stuff like that. It just brings people together, and it just binds everything in place, which is a huge, huge selling point. But it's what we love. But it's ticked every boxes for me. But for the
yeah.
foreseeable future, if I can, I'm touch wood. I'm going. I'd love to go with a load
Yeah,
of mates.
no, I highly recommend you do, mate. It's absolutely incredible, and to experience it in a different country as well. I think that would be
Oh,
superb.
especially in
Okay,
the
so especially where in the sun.
especially in the States, the
Oh
American.
yeah, 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 yeah. Different,
Oh,
different level,
Star
different
Wars,
level. I'm
man.
sure.
You're like, all right, mate, calm down. But can't.
I've
I love
got two questions left for you. We're coming to the top of the hour. So,
lovely stuff.
what gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Toy collecting buzz for me, online or in store, just seeing the figures. Like say, open the
Yeah,
door, going in. Say, for instance, where I've been to in the past, Toys R Us, Entertainer, Forbidden Planet in the Croydon branch I go to, which
yeah,
is local to me, or the one in London. It's just the figures. I mean, the one in London, especially, where you see all the hot toys from all different aspects, and then you see the Star
yeah.
Wars ones. And I run over like a toy, like a kid at Christmas would be stocking. I'd have him, him, him. Okay, the bill's there. Don't matter. I'd have him. It's just a huge
Yeah,
buzz.
yeah,
It's like the kid feel as such. It's just like, oh yeah, I'd have him. I was after him. It's just the buzz really, where it's like you open the door, you can just see it at the corner of your eye going, they got new figures. I'm getting them, whether it be online or in store. That's the buzz really that just gets me. And I've
Do you,
obviously reviewing on my channel, and then just
yeah.
go again really.
Do you have the same feeling though when you see a figure online, or as you do when you see it actually in store, or is it a slightly different feeling, or is it the
I,
same?
I think in store, obviously you got it up personal and everything. You can say, right, because what I do is recently I tend to check. So say for instance, if there's maybe like say a slight smudge on the paint or anything, right, again
Yeah,
that
yeah,
thing's okay. Obviously online it's unpredictable as such, but in terms of when I'm in store, I sort of do the check-in and I'll get that version. But even if it's online, say or pre-order, I must get in because some of them they're a complete um wouldn't say nightmare, but they can go like a snap of your finger. I remember there's a period of time where they re-released the newer versions of Darth Revan, and obviously
Yeah.
they were going like anything. And I remember the
Yeah.
website I used, Star Action Figures, they released him, and I was like, damn, I couldn't get him and everything. And then I went on eBay and I got him for like a 10 or 12 quid plus free delivery. And that was in the early stages. You go on there now, even the newer version, he's just like a ridiculous price as such. But as
Yeah.
soon as I see him pre-order, and then when you get him in hand, it's like, I didn't get the original from back in the day, but now I've got the newer version. It's like, yes, it's something on my bucket list. I don't need to worry. It's just it's a real nice feeling as such in
Yeah.
terms of being like, I don't know, I don't know, scoring a goal in the World Cup final, or catching the golden snitch in Harry Potter or stuff like that. It's just that
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got him.
Oh,
It's great.
wow.
It's just the buzz and the atmosphere. I love it, especially when I go
Yeah.
to Forbidden Planet. It's especially the one in London. I mean, the local store to me in Croydon's good, but when you go into the heart of the city and you've got vast range of collections and
Yeah.
that large
Yeah.
glass shelf of all the toys, I'm thinking,
Yeah.
if only I had a few more extra zeros on my bank account, most of that would be coming back to my house. It's just like,
Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that
it's just
feeling.
like,
Yeah, for sure.
my wallet would be completely dry, but it'd be worth it. It will be
Yeah,
worth
no,
it.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love the buzz. I love the buzz, and it's the hunt.
No,
The hunt
good. Good.
right there. Are
Yeah.
you the same? Are you the same, mate? If you don't mind me asking.
Me, I prefer going in store or going to like a toy fair or
Mm.
convention and finding something as opposed to getting it offline. I do use like in demand toys and Star Action figures and Hasbro Pulse. Obviously I get stuff from there, but to see things in like you say, you look for the paint apps, you look for the card and all that sort of stuff. So I'm happy doing both, but in an ideal world, I would love to do it all, in store or out in the
Yeah,
wild or somewhere like that. I think that would be pretty cool.
that'd be really
Right,
cool.
so it would be absolutely.
And
I've got one more question for you.
sorry to interrupt you, mate. Toys R
That's all right.
Us. Back in the day as well, Toys R Us, they were.
Oh yeah, I mean, God,
Oh,
again, you've got another store that's gone, that went bust. It's such a shame.
yeah, such a
What was the Model Zone was absolute quality.
yeah,
Some of the stuff they
great
sold.
one.
Toys R Us. I miss
Yeah,
those days. I mean, you get the entertainer now, but is it as good? Is Smith's as good? Well, to a certain degree, but you don't generally find what you're looking for in there
yeah,
because they don't stock a lot of the stuff. So yeah, I
yeah.
I missed Toys R Us. I really do, and that's where I first found the 40th anniversary Black Series figures, the Star Wars ones.
There you
I
go.
found them. I'd never seen them before until I walked in there, and I was like, "What are these? What? Look
Yeah,
at those card backs!" And I was like, "Wow!" And yeah, before I knew it, before the year was out, I ended up having the whole lot of that 40th anniversary wave.
there you
Superb.
go. Toys R Us, they had the game. They knew what game they were playing, and you
Yeah,
speak to most collectors and most fans, they set the bar. They were huge in terms of their
yeah,
sections, and the stock was tremendous. And as you said, to see them go, there's like a little small one, um, in terms of obviously the area where I work, and you're
yeah,
going, if this was only big or years ago with the stock, it would have been, I'd have been literally in
yeah.
there every time. But what a memory, mate. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I've had plenty of memories going into Toys R
plenty
Us.
of
I mean, whether it
questions.
was going in and getting like my Sabutio football teams and stuff like that, because I used to like Sabutio. I remember going in with a friend, and he was heavily into Action Force, and he'd come back with the whale and stuff like that from GI
Yeah,
Joe, the Hydrofoil, and I was just like, oh man, those were the days. And like you
those were
say,
the
they're
times.
fantastic memories, fantastic memories. Um, Last question: what does your collection mean to you?
I think the collection for me is many years of hard work and collecting, and it's just a sentimental value in terms of this is something
Yeah,
personal to me. It's something I've grown with ever since I was young, and it's something at this moment in time and many years to come that I just can't seem to let go. As I said earlier on, there was a period of time going into primary school to secondary school where I didn't collect, but it's
yeah,
just the sheer sentimental. I mean, in terms of obviously when we're recording this, I haven't put anything on YouTube for 3 months, but it's not going to stop me. I'm going to go back and keep doing because I just can't see myself away from that period of time. Yes, there's stuff going on, everything, but it's just the sheer veracity I'll keep going and going and going again. And
Yeah.
it's the bug, it's the itch, it's the hunt. And I just thought of it now. It's sort of like the quote from Godfather 3 with Al Pacino, and he's like, "Just as I thought I was out, and he pulled me back in." It's just it's the hunt. I'm here for it. I'm not
Yeah.
letting go. And it's just the whether it be like the drug or the bug or that, it's just the sentimental. And Star Wars is
Yeah.
huge, and I just can't see myself letting go of it, because it is what you are. And I've got
Yeah,
friends of
but I
mine.
mean, would you want to? Would you want to let go of it? I mean,
No, not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. Even though when I was not doing videos for a period of time, I've got
yeah,
figures I'm going to bench review, and I still go and collect, because it's the love of it, and the
yeah,
figures are getting better and better. But it's just like, if Hasbro could just re-release it in the batches where they did, in terms of, we got vast range of characters, and they were saying maybe 16 to 18 figures in a wave. It's just like, bring back the good old days. But it's just a sentimental value to me, and the thrill
yeah,
and the hunt, really, for me.
yeah.
They're the sort of aspects, and other things as well. But it's just like,
Absolutely awesome.
it's absolutely a joy to be involved with it. And obviously the
Yeah,
YouTube community with yourself, uh, Only One Kenobi, Boss Bounty, and other honourable mentions as such. It's huge, and I love it, mate. And like I said, even doing platforms like this and speaking to yourself and other people on
yeah,
social media, it's just the sheer love and the beauty that is Star Wars. And George Lucas, he's the man. Like I said, he's earned an awful lot of money, but he's the man.
he has. He's done all right for himself, and he's done all right as old George. He's
But
done all right.
that's my outlook of it, and I couldn't see
No,
it. I
that's
couldn't
cool,
see
man.
it any other way, mate. Whether my life would be a little bit more quieter or boring, but I just, Star Wars is the way it goes, and long may it continue, me old mate. So
No,
the
that's
way
awesome, man. That's
that's the
awesome.
way I look at it, and I'll drink to that. So yeah.
Fair play, fair play. Jack, unfortunately, that has come to the end of the conversation. I've got to say, I've loved your enthusiasm. I've loved your passion. I've loved your positive approach on things. How um, you conduct yourself. You spoke very well, but I also like the fact that you love the era that you grew up in.
Mm,
That childhood era. The late '90s to the early 2000s, mid
mm,
2000s. I think it's really cool because, like I say, I'm so used to chatting to people from my age group who say that we were the lucky ones with the golden generation when it comes to toy lines all at the same time, TV series, music. You know, we count ourselves very lucky. To hear you say that about your generation, I think it's really refreshing, mate. I really do.
no,
Um,
that's very kind of you to say. I mean, I would love to go in the time machine and go back to your era as such, in terms of that era of Star Wars, because I've got mates of mine who saying, "Oh, the era of the 70s and the 80s of Star Wars was great." So it's nice to hear your
yeah.
aspect as such, but
Well, I
it's
mean,
nice to hear all different sides of it.
we experienced Star Wars from the very start.
Mm,
And you experienced Star Wars from the prequels, and that's your Star Wars, and it's
yeah.
and I know people are gonna go, oh, yeah, bloody sequels, but I know that there's gonna be people that are gonna be feeling the same way about the sequels as what you do about the prequels
Yeah,
and what I do about the original series. That's
of
just part
course.
and parcel of life. That's how it goes. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that.
Mm,
None of us are wrong.
no.
But it's just all down to different opinions and stuff like
Yeah,
that, and we've got to be respectful of other people's opinions. But
exactly.
where can people find you on social media?
Social media, everyone, you can find me on Facebook as JediMaster98. I'm also on Instagram, so if you just type in my name, Jack Barrett 1998, you will see me on there. My profile's public, and you'll see pictures of me at Comic Con and other stuff going on. You find me on YouTube as JediMaster98, and you can just have a chat for me, whether it be on Messenger or on Instagram, if you want to get to know the collection a bit more and just basically just get involved. I love the chat of Star Wars and stuff like that, and it's an amazing community to be part of. And as you said there, we all had different aspects of Star Wars, and your Star Wars, it would be original,
Yeah,
prequel, sequel. That is your Star Wars, and that is the beauty of it, mate. So they're the places where you can find me, and
cool.
it's just a really nice thing, an honour to be on YouTube. And as I said earlier, mate, thank you very much for inviting me on your
No, it honestly, Jack, it's been an
do
absolute
this,
pleasure.
mate.
I've
Thank you very much
loved
for
listening
taking
to
the time.
your story and stuff like that. I've loved listening to your story. What I'll do is I'll leave the links to your social media platforms in the description below. What I will do as well is add you as a friend on Facebook, because I know I'm following you on Instagram and on YouTube, but I didn't realize you're on Facebook. So I'm gonna, once we're done, I'll go and do that. But yeah,
No
so
problem. Very
if
kind.
you haven't seen Jack, if you haven't seen his channel, go pay him a visit, give him a sub, give him a like, watch a few of his videos, and listen a little bit more to Jack. An absolute tremendous guy. Unfortunately, that has come to the end of the conversation. A huge thank you to Jack, JediMaster98, and a huge thank you to you, the people who watch and listen. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, and we see. I'll get my words out in a minute. We shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.
Take care, everyone.